I'd like to spend just a little bit of time before we get started sharing some information about how we see mobile evolving, and specifically the move towards stitching together multiple applications, multiple sources of information around business processes. And let's move to the first slide. There we go. All right. So I want to start just with one little vignette. This is from 2005, and I lifted this from one of my peers at Forrester. They've recently put out a new book, Julie Osk and Ted Shadler, called The Mobile Mind Shift. And this is 2005 at the introduction of Pope Benedict. And if you fast forward it to last year in 2013, note the difference here. That, in a nutshell, is what we have seen happen in the past 5 years. People use their mobile devices, whether they're smartphones or tablets, as a part of their life to tell their stories. And we refer to this at Forrester as the mobile mind shift. And it's specifically the expectation that any desired information or service is available on the appropriate device at the moment of your need in context. And it's a consumer phenomenon, but it's also an employee phenomenon, and you need to be able to support both. We see that your customers demand more from you on their tablets and on their mobile devices. They want you to treat them as an individual, personalize the experience. They want you to make it easy to do what they're trying to accomplish, to do it 24/7. But one of the things that we often do in enterprises is we tend to separate our employees from our customers, and the reality is those employees are consumers too. They're using these applications in their own personal lives, and they bring that same sort of expectation into their organization, and it frustrates them that they can't get that same level of capability when they come to work. You know, we've always in IT called it the cobbler's children syndrome, but it is something that is increasingly frustrating for your information workforce. So your employees, as a result, are taking action into their own hands. I always like to put data behind our observations, so I've got some here. We see that about half of information workers today are using these devices on a regular basis to get their jobs done. We see that about a third of information workers are what we would classify as anytime, anywhere workers. They are used to working outside of work, at the coffee shop, on the way to work, at home, after they put the kids to bed, and 1 out of 4 of these workers have downloaded and installed and used their own applications. So that 25% represents the app gap. If you are trying to support their needs. Roughly half of the folks that are using these smart mobile devices are using their own capabilities because you're not providing them what they need to get their job done. And they're using these experiences in more and more places. If you look at the types of devices that employees use in different situations, you see that it's only when they're at their desk or in their cubicle that they are more likely to pull out their PC than their smartphone or their tablet. In every other situation, in a different room while they're still in their office, if they're at another facility in your organization, if they're at home in a car while commuting, in a coffee shop, they are going to pull out one of these mobile devices first, whether it's a tablet or a smartphone. And that's really behind this mobile shift, even in the enterprise for information workers. Now, one of the things that I see when I talk to our clients is that they get the idea of basic mobile enablement, of things like voice and voicemail and VoIP and mobile device management. And you talk to the app developers, and they get the idea of mobile optimization. We want to build apps. We want to build consumer-facing apps. We want to build apps for our employees, compaction estimator, or we want to make it easy for them to request travel services. But often, they ignore the steps in between basic mobile services and optimization of the mobile platform. There are a whole range of things that you need to be ready to support before you go and spend a lot of money on both creating mobile apps and, more importantly, maintaining those mobile apps. And I see organization after organization get tripped up by making that leap all the way to the end. So the first step after basic mobile services is the capabilities around mobile collaboration, whether it's email and contacts and calendar or instant messaging, support for audio and video conferencing. Moving up the step for mobile collaboration is adding mobile productivity services. Something as simple as printing, file sync and share, mobile business intelligence capability, the capability to stream apps that may be on your desktop that you're going to retire but you don't want to rewrite as mobile optimized apps. From there, we move to mobile process enablement, and this is key, the ability to stitch together business processes in a way that is going to optimize the experience that your employees and your customers get from your business organization. Now, we see investments in mobile driving IT organizations. When we look at our overall budgeting priority survey for this year, we see that more organizations overall, 58%, are spending at least 5 to 10% or more than 10% on mobile technology. It is the #1 priority when it comes to companies spending more in any of the different IT areas. Here in the US, what that translates to is an increasing chunk of the $238 billion that firms are going to spend on software this year. Now, that said, again, the mistake that we tend to see is folks think immediately that means a lot more custom app development, and it certainly does mean custom app development. There'll be a large part of this $32 billion that gets spent on mobile. But if you look at the difference, custom app development is still about 13% of the overall spend in software, and spending on applications is about 53% of the overall spend. And again, that's the gap that many organizations ignore when they are trying to put together their mobile strategy. So, what are employees using? On what devices are they using these applications? Well, as you would expect, email tops the list of an application used across multiple devices. 87% of information workers say that they use it on their PCs, 74% on both tablets and smartphones, and it goes down from there. But if you look closely at the data, you're starting to see there are some services where usage on a tablet and on a mobile device actually outpace the number of information workers that use that service on a PC. And this is the spear tip of that mobile mind shift. So instant messaging, a great example. People are more likely to use both a smartphone and a tablet. Social networking, 45% say they use tablets, 39% say that they use smartphone class devices, only 31% are using PCs. So we've seen a clear shift in that direction. The other thing that you will notice as you start to go down the long tail of applications that employees use, this gray bar is tablet usage. And you see in situation after situation, file sync and sharing tools, team document sharing sites, expense tracking, online storage, internal blogs or wikis, that tablets are driving the usage when it comes to information workers. So in some ways, it's less the mobile mind shift in the enterprise, and it's the tablet mind shift that we see moving forward. Now, one of the other things that we are seeing happen as part of this is an atomization of traditional business processes. One of the things I'm constantly working with our clients on is as they move into the mobile space, they're struggling with the fact that they have these monolithic applications that they've either built or bought over the past 20 years. And splitting apart those applications and trying to surface individual pieces of data is incredibly difficult, especially as they're trying to go mobile. And yet, what are they doing with that data? They're putting them into lots and lots of different applications which can't really talk to each other very well on the client, and they're in some ways rebuilding the exact same monolithic architecture with an app sprawl that they did in the previous generation. So figuring out how to do this in a way, surfacing the information in a way that is more atomized and is more flexible, is going to be critical as you move into the mobile space. Anybody here who does custom app development, you know that the pressure's on to release multiple times a year. The best 5-star applications tend to release 8 to 12 times a year on a regular basis, instrument with analytics, and it's that data that you get back that allows you to make the right decision and to change the application very, very quickly. If you can't atomize your business process, it doesn't matter if you can change the application quickly because you can't resurface this data in new and interesting ways. So some examples of how we see business processes being atomized. Something as simple as email and file sync and share, the capability to get access to documents, to embed those documents in email, to send them on, and to get further comment on them. Taking that and stitching together a signature capture would be another great example. Being able to take dashboards and workflow approvals. Think about a sales discount where a sales rep is out in the space and they want to put a 7% discount on, and that's greater than your max discounting average, and it has to be sent to a director of the region for approval. You'd really like that sort of process to be automated and tracked and governed so that you have control over your discounting process. Linking together customer relationship management with location services, so I can do optimized visit planning, so I know who's in the area and I can get guidance on whether or not they would be receptive to a sales call. Maybe even matching that right up to presence, publicly available presence, so I can just reach out to them via instant messaging on my mobile device and see if they're available for a cup of coffee. So email, office, side-by-side sales, that's a particular business process that we see is increasingly common, especially if there are documents that need to accompany sales of large products and durable goods. So some examples that we see across different industries of how processes are atomizing. In the sales and services space, we see it with distribution and sales calls and field maintenance, the ability to track documents, the ability to sign leasing agreements as an example. In financial services, we see it with financial planning and wealth management. Lots of our clients are working with affluent individuals using a side-by-side selling experience on a tablet as opposed to looking across the desk with a PC. Looks like I went backwards, sorry. Some other examples that we see in health and pharmaceuticals, scheduling and detailing applications where sales reps are going out to make doctor visits, again with a tablet instead of a PC. Field maintenance and leasing, scheduling and delivery of equipment, flexible manufacturing, and expense reporting and travel are all examples of where these processes need to be stitched together in a flexible way. So when you go to put an enterprise mobility platform in place, some of the things that you should be looking for to support this idea of the composable enterprise, of flexible business processes. How do you secure the data? How do you provide identity and access management? If you talk to any of the developers that you're working with in your organization and you ask them about identity, you're going to get a real immediate response of pain. At least that's what we see. Readily available infrastructure services. Can we provide printing services? Can we provide business process workflow approvals? Can we provide e-signature as a service? Can we provide presence detection? Validation of applications. How do you make sure that you've got the right data, the right application, that it's been digitally signed and it hasn't been tampered with, especially in an environment like Android where we see a fair amount of spoofing and application hijacking. Management. How do we manage the users, provision the devices, apps, and the data? And then finally, above all, integration. How do we effectively surface this data, connect it, make it work together the way that the employees want to do? So with that, and with a little bit of information about how good makes that possible and easier, I'd like to invite Stefan Keim up, and Sean as well, Sean Martin.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
After you.
With essentially every business process being a candidate for mobile transformation, how do you identify the business process that contributes to your bottom line? And how do you identify the application that provides the features and functionality? Well, let's look at the situation you might find yourself in. My current applications and processes are highly customized. Here we go. My current business applications are highly customized, and it took a long time to get there. So you probably used one of the customized one of the main software platforms. And if you want to mobilize those, you find yourself in a situation where the application is either not available, or the existing application you have in PC cannot be transferred or used on mobile devices. So you are in a situation where you consider a custom application, a completely custom project inside a company. But in a mobile world, you do have alternatives. 8 out of top 10 business applications in the Apple App Store are created by application providers that did not exist a few years ago. They were designed with a mobile-first approach in mind, with a great user experience. They provide you with flexibility. The decision you have to make is very similar to a build versus buy decision. So in general, the level of customization determines whether you can use an off-the-shelf application or you have to use a custom approach. If you find a suitable software solution, you can benefit from cost savings around deployment and development, as well as time to market. We believe that in this area, while there will always be the reasons why you might want to consider a custom application, there are opportunities to use best-of-breed mobile applications to find a quick win for your organization. You can take that one step further. What if you can combine these applications? You enable your workforce. For example, you enable your field to close a business transaction without the need to go back to your back to the company to print a document or collaborate with others, but you can do it here and now on the spot. We believe that this is the value that a mobile application platform provides.